स्वामिन्नमस्ते नतलोकबन्धो कारुण्यसिन्धो पतितं भवाब्धौ मामुद्धरात्मीयकटाक्षदृष्ट्या ऋज्व्यातिकारुण्य सुधाभिवृष्ट्या स्वामिन्नमस्ते 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 स्वामिन्नमस्ते। स्वाराज्य साम्राज्य विभूतिरेषा भवत्कृपा श्री महिमप्रसादात् प्राप्ता मया श्री गुरवे महात्मने नमो नमस्तेस्तु पुनर्नमोस्तु नमो नमस्तेस्तु पुनर्नमोस्तु नमो नमस्तेस्तु पुनर्नमोस्तु। जय गुरु, जय गुरु, जय गुरु। So, we'll continue with this topic, self-realization and all-time sadhana. The Prabhatrashmi, number 12, in volume 1, the book Prabhatrashmi, volume 1. And it is a Prabhatrashmi talk of 18 July 1997. Here also Swamiji is telling us, after having told us about the self and relentlessly making us understand the self is everywhere. It is not only in meditation that we perceive the self or realize the self. We have to perceive the self and realize it through every action and interaction, through every thought. And in this, he has been chanting the shloka from Bhagavad Gita, Atma upamyena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna sukham va yadi va dukkham sayogi paramo matah. That is, that yogi who sees the self everywhere and understands that the same self is there in the happiness as well as unhappiness. That is, happiness and unhappiness both are extensions of the same self. That yogi is the highest and the greatest. Now, Swamiji has been telling in this talk that how will you resolve the crisis of externalization, plurality and separation after you wake up from the meditation and see the entire world as separate from you, separated by the senses. We try to meditate and we get absorbed. We may get into samadhi and also understand and realize the self. But what about those moments when we are out of samadhi, out of meditation, and we are again in this active world where all our senses are running here and there, making our mind restless and distracted and disturbed. So how do we find the self in that? We find that the self which was easy to perceive when we went inside, when we are outside in the external world, it is not that easy. So Swamiji is saying, it is for this, my dear souls, that we need wisdom to meditate and experience the consciousness within the body is rather easy. But to rise in our understanding and develop a dimension of universality is the most difficult task. When we go inside us, within us, in our meditation, maybe it is still easier to reach the self, or the self gets revealed to us. But when it is not so easy, but to rise in our understanding and develop a dimension of universality, that is, when we are out of meditation and we are in this variety of the world, how to find that universal self everywhere? This is the most difficult task, he says. And it is for that the spiritual sadhana has to become interactional and sublimational. In this active world, unless we wake up into this active world, how are we to understand that universal self? Suppose we simply remain in meditation, how will we know that we have attained that universal self? For that, the active world is necessary, interactions are necessary, and it is absolutely necessary to sublimate this differential attitude. Maya tatamidam sarvam. He had started with this shloka from Bhagavad Gita 9.4. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina matsthani sarvabhutani na chaham teshvavasthitah. Which means, in my imperceptible form, I pervade the universe. It's not perceived, but the self pervades the universe. It is the self and self everywhere. This is the very nature of the soul, that I am. All beings abide in me, but I am not seated in them. The shloka means this. So again Swamiji is taking word by word. He's saying, Maya tatamidam sarvam. Only this. Where it says that everything is pervaded by me, the self alone. All these are pervaded by me, the Supreme Presence. Whether you call it the consciousness, the Supreme Presence, the Supreme, the Brahman, is the same. All these are pervaded by me, the Supreme Presence. Do you accept this fact? Swamiji is asking this question to us. Do we really accept this fact? We may be hearing it, we may be reading it, we may be thinking about it. We may feel that, oh, this is the truth. That the self pervades. But what does it mean? How does it relate to us? Do we relate it to ourselves at any time? In our thoughts, in our actions and interactions? So Swamiji is asking, do you accept this fact? The earth is in God. Then are you not also in God? This whole universe has emerged from that Supreme Presence, whom we can call God or Brahman. That is the self, the universal self. The creation has come out of that Supreme Presence. And every individual is also created by the same presence. So if the world is in God or is created by God, are we also not created by God? We are in this earth, and the earth is the creation of the Supreme Presence. So our body is also created by the same presence. We are not able to create our own body or any other's body. We are not able to create this universe, create all that belongs to the universe, in the sky, in the air, in the water, the trees, fruits and flowers, the seasons, where from they come, with all its creatures and animals and birds. Who has created them? So, if this fact we believe that some presence actually brings forth this variety, the universe, and I am also in that, then am I not also in that Supreme or God? But, Swamiji is saying, the earth is in God, then are you not also in God? But we never realize this fact. Do we ever, from the morning till night, when we get up in the morning till we go to sleep, do we ever think that I am created by God? That I am able to do everything with my hands, my feet, my senses, my mind is working, my intelligence is working, but this, whether my limbs or my senses or my body or my mind, intelligence, nothing I have created. So, throughout the day we are thinking, I am doing this, I am thinking this, I have gone there, I have eaten that. Do we ever think of this fact that I have done nothing and it is all done by the Supreme Presence? In Bhagavad Gita, this shloka is there. Swamiji often refers to it. Aham sarvasya prabhava. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattas sarvam pravartate. That is, everything is created by me in this universe, and I am the cause of everything that works here. Mattas sarvam pravartate. I am the one who is the cause of every activity. So, we never realize this fact. We may know it, we may read about it, we may discuss about it, but we don't realize it while we are awake and we are active. In all our activities, small and big, we never remember this. Never remembered this. Here, I'm remembering, this small story of Dhruva, where Dhruva was contemplating on Lord Vishnu. A small boy, 5 years old, he was meditating upon the Mahavishnu, who is four-armed with Shankha Chakra Gada Padma, beautiful face. His austerities were severe and intense. He had gone to the forest and he had stopped taking any food or water, everything. Then at one time he even stopped his breath. He was standing on one foot in his contemplation. Sometimes he will change the foot from this foot to this one. And when he stopped his breath and he would change his foot, the whole earth started shaking and becoming stifled without air. Because Dhruva was doing his austerity, having stopped his breath. So everybody ran to Mahavishnu that what is happening, we are feeling very, very miserable. We are not able to breathe. We are feeling as if we will topple over. the earth will topple over. So Mahavishnu understood that a small 5-year-old boy is doing severe austerities to have his vision. So he then revealed himself in front of Dhruva. Dhruva was in his mind seeing the face of Lord Vishnu. Suddenly that face disappeared and the little boy opened his eyes to see what happened. And he found the same figure on which he was contemplating, the same figure in front of him, Mahavishnu, smiling at him with eyes full of compassion and love, looking at the little boy. The little boy became overwhelmed, fell at the feet of Mahavishnu in prostration. And when he got up, his eyes were shedding, and he was so overwhelmed. He wanted to sing some praises in the praise of the Lord, but he had no words. Words were not coming from his mouth. His cheeks were quivering. Seeing that the boy is in great discomfiture, Mahavishnu with his Shankha touched his cheek, the cheek of Dhruva, and immediately he started having words in his mouth. He started chanting and singing the praise of Mahavishnu. And you know what he chanted first? He first said, I do pranam to you, O Lord, you who are the most powerful. He said, Yo anta pravishya mama vacham imam prasuptam sanjeevayatyakila shaktidhara swadhamna anyamscha hasta charana shravana tvagadin pranan namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. Namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. O divine entity, O the Supreme Lord, I do pranam to you, I prostrate at your feet. You who, having entered my being, has enlivened me. And the words which were dormant, they became enlivened and started coming out of my mouth with sound. Not only that, you enliven my hands, hasta charana shravana, my hands, my feet, my ears to hear. Tvagadin, my skin with touch, all these senses, and my hands and feet, everything, all my 5 senses, all my limbs, everything has become enlivened by the presence of yours inside me. Because you are inside me, I have become enlivened. And also you have given me the life, pranan. So he says that, Yo anta pravishya mama vacham imam prasuptam sanjeevayatyakila shaktidhara swadhamna. With your being in your own abode, with your own strength, you have enlivened me and given me life. Only because you are there, I am able to do everything. See, a small boy, 5-year-old, when he got the vision of God, he could have asked any boon. But how his mind is completely focused and knows and realizes the fact that it is because of the Supreme Presence that he is alive, that he is able to sing, that he is able to talk, look here, smell that, touch, and not only that, he is able to do his austerities also. Everything that we do, we are not able to do it ourselves. It is only because we have been given this body by a presence, which has created this whole universe, has created us also, and that is why we are able to do. So, Swamiji is saying, but we never realize this fact. We may say that the whole world rests on God. That is, as I was explaining now, that we may read it, we may say it. We feel that this is a knowledge that we know. We'll discuss about it. We may say that the whole world rests on God. But when it comes to myself or my family and property, we refuse to accept that they are also in God. We may know this as a knowledge, but when it comes to anything to do with myself, my family, my property, my qualifications, then we feel that everything is mine. We forget about God. That is why, how many of us, when we get up in the morning, remember that God has given us one more day. He has made us get up. My eyes have opened up. Eyes have opened today into the day. It's not under our control when we lie in the bed. When our eyes get closed, it is not under our control. And when we get up, then also when our eyes open up, it is not under our control. How many of us remember that? We do not. And we always feel, I have done this, I have thought this. So, we may say that the whole world rests on God. But when it comes to myself or my family and property, we refuse to accept that they are also in God. This is a contradiction, a delusion, a conventional limitation and perversion. So, Swamiji is telling every seeker that what we should remember is that everything rests on the self or God. We have to remember it, make a habit of remembering, not only just knowing it, but to realize it again and again with an effort. If we don't do it, then it is a contradiction, a delusion, a conventional limitation and perversion. That is, we talk about spirituality. We say that we are a seeker. We are very earnest seekers, but we are not making any attempt, any effort to remain in this knowledge steadily, where we don't have to remind ourselves. Everywhere we look at, it will be the self and self alone. We are not doing it. This is ego. The ego and mindness will have to be dropped. And that is why people come to the ashram, to learn to drop the ego. This is called self-effacement. Self-effacement. What? This I, everybody, when we were children, when we grew up a little, when we became a little more grown up, and when we more grow and grow, even in the old age, the I remains. We always say I. And what is that I? We don't identify with the I which really I am, the self. We identify with the body, mind and intelligence complex. So that is the ego, the I-ness. And everything that belongs to me is the mindness. This ego has to be dropped. The feeling of being something particular. The self is everywhere the same self. Samam pashyati Arjuna. Atmaupamyena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna. It is the same self everywhere. The self is not particular in one place and different in another place. It is the same. So, whenever we have this differential outlook that I am and all these are different from me and things belong to me. That is an ego, the I-ness and mindness, the feeling of a separate identity of I with this limited identity of mine, with my age, my height, my weight, my qualifications, my native place, where I stay, everything together. That limited I is a particular I. We have to drop that and merge into the existence which is eternal, the Self, Sat Chit Ananda. If you are here, Swamiji said, that is why people come to the ashram to learn to drop the ego. You may ask what Swamiji means by this. You know, in the ashram, there are so many people and all come here from different places, different nationalities, different language they have, different habits they have, and they don't have a common blood and matrimonial relationship. In a family, there will be the relationship of blood and matrimony. Even if in a family people are staying together, even if there is some difficulty or disharmony between people, there is a basic bond. But in the ashram, everybody comes from various places, and they have to come together and stay together. And it is not a very common place. It's not like going and, remaining in a sightseeing place or a pilgrim spot or in a hotel where you meet many people, or you're going in a flight or in a train meeting many people. It's not like that. You have come to a place where stays the master, the self-realized master, who has no ego, who has no desire, who has no possessiveness. For him, everything is the same. Every person is the same. And he will deal with everybody in a different manner. His only aim is to make them feel free, vast, expanded. Only aim is to make them free of the shackles they carry with them as knots in the minds and intelligence, and make them free and ever happy. This is his aim. So when we come to the ashram at the feet of a realized master, automatically we have to interact with many people. And whatever habits we have, whatever nature we have, whatever viewpoints we have to bring in transformation in them, drop our egos and become loving and embracing to all, as our master does, our guru does. Only because the guru does not have any ego, he can embrace everyone. And for common people, ordinary people, we are not able to embrace everybody. If we get a hurting behavior from somebody, we have bitterness for that person, hatred for the person, dislike for the person. We don't want to interact with the person anymore. But that is the real wonder here, at the feet of the Guru. Whoever the person is, whatever is his nature, the Guru embraces the person. So when one comes to the ashram, that is why one must watch how the ashram is running, revolving. As Swamiji says, he says that the ashram revolves around spirituality. It's not that all who are here in the ashram, who stays at the feet of the Guru, all would have been perfect. But they also constantly work with this aim in the mind that they should be more and more welcoming, more and more hearty, more and more embracing, without having any blame, without having any critical feeling in the mind, any judgmental feeling in the mind, and loving everybody universally. Not that you have some special fondness for some and special not so for some others. For everybody, we here in the ashram, we want to be loving them in the same manner. Even if, there are wandering sannyasins coming here, help seekers come here, to them also, our behavior, our feelings for them, we learn to be embracing them, give them food. If they have come at a time when we feel that they are hungry. Suppose somebody, here, sometimes from the village, they will come with items to sell. So, you will understand that they have not taken food, they must have started from their home very early in the morning. So after buying whatever, generally, tools, in the villages they will make tools and all that, garden tools, knives, spades, etc. We can get it in the market also, but some people will come with earthen pots to sell, or these garden tools, etc. So whoever comes, if we feel that it's quite late and they have not had food, after talking to them, we give them food. Sometimes some very old women come, saying that I have no sari or munda to wear. You had given me last year during Onam. Onam is a very special festival in Kerala. Can you give? Or they will ask an umbrella. Umbrella is very much useful in Kerala rain. And such old people, poor people, it has happened that we understand. Then one by one they will say, I have nothing to eat, so okay, take some rice. Then ultimately we find that how will that lady carry all these things? How will she walk back home? So we will call one auto and give the auto wala, the driver, the fare, and send her back. We don't know her. We don't know that person. Has first time come. So this we learn slowly, sitting at the feet of the Guru. Through whatever he says. He tells us the scriptures only. He tells from his own life many incidents, and we see him doing also. That is how we learn. And in doing so, the ego is dropped. What is the ego dropping? The dropping that, no, I don't want to interact with such people, or this time is not convenient for me to get things for a person. This is my resting time. So that person can wait for some time. Nothing like that. So it becomes actually Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. This whole earth is our family. The whole universe is our family. The whole vision expands like that. And any sincere seeker who is ready to expand, Swamiji used to tell me, if your sadhana will take 12 years at the feet of the Guru, if you just listen to him, assimilate, your sadhana will take only 12 months. Swamiji continues saying, if you are here, what will your Swamiji want you to do? He wants you to drop your ego, to transcend and dissolve your mamata, which makes you constricted to the family relationships and the things around. The possessiveness to the family and the possessions that you have, acquisitions that you have. So Swamiji wants everybody to drop their egos. Everything in this world is ultimately to be left. If you refuse to leave the things belonging to the body, do you think you will succeed? We always feel that all these are ours. We are actually speaking, we always try to hold on to even the time. Everybody feels that this, whatever I am now, it will remain like this. Although we are seeing everywhere, things are changing constantly. Anytime anybody can become sick, anytime anything can happen, any other thing can happen. Good, bad, favorable, unfavorable. But we feel that things will remain like this. We think that these things are all ours and we remain with an ego. But will we be able to keep everything with us when we leave our body? Nothing will go with us. If you refuse to leave the things belonging to the body, do you think you will succeed? One day the soul will leave your body, making it bereft of life, demanding that it be disposed of within a matter of hours. So that when the body falls, nothing you can take with, cannot take anything with oneself, and the body has to be disposed of within few hours. Then nobody will like to keep that body from where the pranas have gone. They will have to do the final rites. The ability to live and live, the ability to disconnect and be alive. Disconnect with what? The things that we mentally feel strongly that these are mine. The ability to live and live, the ability to disconnect and be alive is the greatest spiritual quality. The ability to live and live. Swamiji always says, accept what comes and let whatever goes, let it go. So, ability to leave and live. Whatever has to be left, you leave and still live. The ability to disconnect and be alive. Disconnect with all that gives us suffering because of attachment, because of desires, because of ego and possessiveness, and still be alive is the greatest spiritual quality. With every dose of spiritual wisdom, every chapter of Bhagavad Gita, every name of God, every contact with the Mahatmas, every minute of satsang, it is this inner ability that we want to achieve. This ability has to be achieved. That is, be free. Do not hold on to anything. Be free in the mind, free in the intelligence. Slowly progress towards that freedom by knowing what? That I am being bound by this thought of I-ness and mine-ness. This separatedness, this differentialness, it is the same thing everywhere. So, when we take to the spiritual disciplines with every dose of spiritual wisdom. When we read, we listen. We constantly listen to the spiritual wisdom. Every chapter of Bhagavad Gita that we read or contemplate upon, every name of God that we chant, every contact with the Mahatmas, every minute of satsang, it is this inner ability that we want to achieve. Live in the presence of the Guru. Try to serve him. And in the process, drop and dissolve your ego. This is the message of the Shastras. This is called ego effacement or self-effacement. That is what has to be done. I am just remembering another diary of mine. I think it is there in this notebook also. At that time, the self-effacement, always there was a feeling of, this Prabhata Rashmis we were listening every day. And even otherwise, Swamiji would be always telling us about something or other, the spiritual wisdom, where he would be constantly making us understand that we have to see the same self everywhere, and purity is necessary for that. And one has to efface one's this limited identity, self-effacement. So the mind used to dwell on these. As I was telling you, Swamiji always says that hours and hours of dwelling on this truth has to be there. He would say 50 hours. And that means that whenever you get time, you relate yourself, assess yourself with the truth that we have heard. So one day I wrote, "O Lord, actually all this, as I came at the feet of my Guru, Swamiji, I would be addressing him and writing, O Lord, when I looked outside through my window, I noticed the 2 hibiscus flowers, orange in color, in the very small plant that were planted just outside my window. Outside my bedroom window, there is a row of hibiscus flowers. I am very fond of flowers and especially fond of hibiscus. So various kinds of hibiscus I had collected, and knowing my love for hibiscus, many people would come and give me various different kinds of hibiscus to plant. So this is written in 1995. So when I was looking through my bedroom window, I found that in a very small plant, 2 orange color hibiscus flowers, they were half bloomed. They were still half bloomed. The thought came to my mind, all the flowers which bloom in the garden, they bloom for your sake, my Lord, and shed themselves as offering at your feet. Looking at the flowers, this thought comes to the mind that Supreme Presence, He is making these flowers bloom in different trees, different colors, at different times, in different seasons. And whether anybody sees them or not, these flowers are blooming. For what? To be offered at the Creator of this beauty, and they shed themselves and offer themselves at the Creator's feet. All the flowers which bloom in the garden, they bloom for your sake, O Lord, and shed themselves as offering at your feet. And I thought, like the flowers, may I too shed my whole being at your feet and lie there. There is no speciality. My identity is only this. I am also a flower among all the flowers. I lie at your holy feet. Looking at those two flowers, this feeling came to me, the self-effacement feeling, that I have no speciality, I have no special identity, just like these flowers every day bloom and shed themselves. And we know them as one of the flowers in the garden. I too should be like this, not carry this ego with me that I am such and such. I also want to lie at your feet without any special identity. Let my self-effacement be more and more complete, O my Lord. As a drop of oil, when poured into a vessel of water, spreads into the water completely, leaving its own identity, may I also lose my separate identity and spread and become one with yours. Let my self-effacement be more and more complete. As a drop of oil, when poured into a vessel of water, spreads into the water completely, leaving its own identity. The drop of water is not understood. Drop of oil is not understood anymore as a drop. It just spreads and becomes one with the water. May I also lose my separate identity and spread and become one with yours. May, O Lord, may your divinity remain ablaze in me always. Then the next day I wrote, O Lord, in this infinite, limitless universe, may you completely dissolve my existence. May my I-ness get dissolved. Fill me with your consciousness, your light, ever and ever. May my I-ness get dissolved. Fill me with your consciousness, your light, ever and ever. May my sight be laden with you. May my words and actions be laden with you. May your nectarine divine touch enliven my senses, my mind and intelligence. In that enlivened existence, let there be your fragrance alone. O my Lord, may my sight be laden with you. May my words and actions be laden with you. May your nectarine divine touch enliven my senses, my mind and intelligence. In that enlivened existence, let there be your fragrance alone. That I must be feeling you and you alone, the Lord or the Supreme alone. May I become your instrument completely. Let your divinity get expressed in all my work, speech and thought. At times I find there is no prayer in the mind. I am immersed deeply in my own antaratma, my own self, drinking and tasting your nectarine touch. Nityam tvacharanaravindha yugala dhyanamrita swadinam. Always I am, through my thoughts, my speech, my actions, interactions, I am contemplating on your holy lotus feet always and always, and drinking the nectarine bliss out of it. So these are some of the introspections. My dear children, introspection is very, very essential. Through introspection, whatever we do, whatever we have read, it should not remain as a piece of knowledge. It should become ours. We should become that and feel that divinity everywhere. So, Swamiji says, having been born, we develop the ego of being an individual. How the ego comes? Having been born, we develop the ego of being an individual. As a child grows, his ego also grows. A new ego develops when he gets married. When children are born, the ego further increases. The circle is growing and growing and growing. The I-ness and mine-ness start growing and growing and growing. It grows because nobody teaches us right in the beginning that let not your ego grow. Live, as Swamiji is telling us, live and live. And live remaining disconnected. Nobody has taught us. From the time that we are born and we are conscious, we are developing our ego as children, then as students, then as a married partner, then as parents. Like this, our ego is growing. We are in the profession, so everywhere the ego only grows. We allow it to. When children are born, the ego further increases. It is this developing ego that we have to drop. Who will give this message? As I was saying, nobody has given us the message since our childhood. Now when we come to the Guru says the ego has to be dropped. Who will give this message? Will the husband or wife give? See, instead of thinking that the family belongs to you, you must be able to realize that the whole world belongs to you. Not only it belongs to you, it is contained in you, the self. How beautiful. Who will give this message? With so much of clarity. Who will give this message? Will the husband or wife give? Parents also don't give. Elders have not given. Teachers have not given. We have gone to schools, colleges, universities and all. Nobody has given us this message. Till we take to this path and we reach a master who tells us this is to be done. See, instead of thinking that the family belongs to you, you must be able to realize that the whole world belongs to you. Every day, can we not think that the whole world belongs to us? We start loving the person also who is not your own. See, parents, they celebrate and observe the birthdays of their children. Very few are there who will go to an orphanage or to a poor community and give them food that day, give them some dresses or gifts that day. They think only of their children. Making lot of fun, lot of food, calling everybody who are eating otherwise, who have everything otherwise, but they don't think that there are children who do not get anything. Let us teach our children to be sympathetic to them, to think about them, to share with them all that you are enjoying. Teach the children to share with them, those who do not have. Only my family, my family, my family. Instead of thinking that the family belongs to you, you must be able to realize that the whole world belongs to you. Not only it belongs to you, it is contained in you, the self. Maya tatamidam sarvam. By me alone, the whole of the universe is permeated. We go to a temple and look at the idol in the sanctum sanctorum. That alone is God for us. But is that the God we want to realize? Certainly not. God is pervading everywhere. After looking at the idol, close your eyes and contemplate on truths like this. Maya tatamidam sarvam. Think about that. The spiritual sadhana becomes interactional for this reason. It is so true. When you go to the temples or any religious center, and in the sanctum sanctorum, we look at the idol and we feel that that is the God that I am worshipping. Swamiji says that if we are told that there is no space or the door is closed, only the back door is open, you go and see the idol from the back, people will not be satisfied. They will not have a feeling that they have come and worshipped at the deity. We want to see the deity from the front. Only that is God. But what about if the deity is made of stone? What about the hill or hillock from where the stone was found and which has been chiseled and made into an idol? We don't think that that is God. Only when we see it in this form, in a temple, we feel that we are in front of God. Is that the God we want to realize? If we say that God is all pervading, maybe this is the primary lesson, that we go to temples and worship. We must go beyond that, where we start finding God everywhere. Is that the God that we want to realize, who is constricted only in a temple? Certainly not. God is pervading everywhere. After looking at the idol, close your eyes and contemplate on truths like this. Maya tatamidam sarvam. Even if we go to the temple, it is not that we worship, and mostly people worship asking favor from God. Please keep my family well. Let my daughter be married. Let my son get a job. Let my case be won. We only ask from God. But who this God is, we don't think about it. So Swamiji is saying, even if you go to the temple, dwell in this thought. Maya tatamidam sarvam. I am the one who is permeating this whole universe. Every time, the spiritual sadhana becomes interactional for this reason. Every time the ego comes up, desires crop up, hatred lurks, find all of them right then and there and remove them. Every moment of activity and interaction must be made use of for sublimation. I think today I will stop, and tomorrow again we'll go further. So today, Swamiji is telling that we have to leave and live. We have to drop our ego and mindness. And this ego, which from childhood it grows and grows and grows, for a spiritual seeker now, you have to wind back and drop that ego slowly. No specific feeling about oneself. I am one in the universe. The Creator has created so many things. I am one of them. I have no particular identity. If the Creator has given me wealth, property, beauty, education, qualification, fame, name, everything, it is because he has willed it. He is everywhere. That feeling one must have. Okay. Sampurnam Jagadev Nandanavanam Sarvepi Kalpadrumaha Gangam Vari Samasta Vari Nivaha Punya Samasta Kriyaha Vacha Prakrita Samskrita Shruti Shiro Varanasi Medini Sarvavasthitirasya vastu vishaya drishti parabrahmani Sarvavasthitirasya vastu vishaya drishti parabrahmani. Jai Guru.